Hey, what is up guys? DRC3 here, back with another My Hero Ultra Impact video, and today we are going to be doing a PvP UR tier list. Now I know a lot of you guys have been asking for this for a while, but I only like to do it every couple of months because I like to wait for things to change in the game when there's like a really big shakeup, really big changes. Well, and guess what? We have new characters that have definitely shooken up the PvP meta. We have new ability boards that have shaken up the PvP meta, all that good stuff. So we're going to be moving a couple of these characters around. This is where we ended last time, and then we also have to put the to be determined characters into their correct spots because these are all the new characters that have come out since I did this tier list last. So we'll be going over all that in this video, but before we get into the video, I need to beg you guys, please go down there, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, help me out. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, guys, and over 70% of you guys who are watching my videos are not subscribed. If you guys go and subscribe, you can make the difference. You can help me get to 1,000 that much quicker, so please help me out, guys. I really appreciate it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and hop into the video. So as we get into the video here, we're going to be talking about all the different characters that are currently in the tier list before we place these new characters in the tier list here. Okay, so the very first character I want to talk about, and this might be a controversial pick right here, a controversial thing to do. You might disagree instantly as soon as I do this, but I am going to move Blue Hawks from double S tier down to S tier. He is no longer double S tier, guys. I'm sorry. He's still S tier. He's still really, really good. Double S tier is like the best of the best. S tier is still pretty usable, like really, really good. I would use them if I didn't have all the double S tier characters. Like, no offense to Blue Hawks, but he's just not as good as he used to be. He is a phenomenal nuker, really, really good at nuking, but there has since been another character that has come along that just does it better than Blue Hawks. And that other character is the Blue All Might, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, but basically he just doesn't do it as well as he used to, so I'm moving him down to S tier simply because there's going to be a character that does it better than him now. Alright, so the next character I want to talk about is over here in the S tier currently, and that is going to be Sun Eater. Sun Eater was really good for increasing the speed of your team when he used his coverage action skill, but the problem with him now is that he doesn't have enough speed turn one with all the new stats boost and board changes and things like that that can make him as good as he could potentially be. He could potentially still be S tier with the new Uraraka coming out and her evasion and her boost to speed as well. Like having Amajiki boost speed and then the new yellow Ochako boosting speed could be really good, but it's really rare to run like a yellow monotype team, so it's just like I don't feel like they would fit together all that well. And so because of that, he's still really good. I feel like there's just better options. I'm going to move him down to A tier. Don't get me wrong, he's still really good. He could potentially be S tier, but for now we're going to move him down to A tier. He's really not used in Ultra Arena as much as he used to be used, especially with all the new characters, status elements, frostbites, all the things that are going on, the barriers. It just makes it hard for him to really shine. Okay, the next character that I'm going to be moving around, and you might have guessed this if you're looking at this right now, is Muriel. Muriel definitely doesn't deserve to still be S tier if Sun Eater is not going to be S tier. And so we're going to move him down to A tier as well. And basically it's kind of a similar deal to Sun Eater. He's just not as good as he used to be. His coverage isn't that great. He has the evasion, which could once again work with the new Ochako or Araka, who has her evasion too. You probably don't want to run Muriel, Sun Eater, and Ochako together because then their coverages get mixed up. But like, he could be potentially, there's an argument maybe for him to be S tier with the new Ochako or Araka, but I don't really know about that. So I'm definitely moving him down to A tier. He's just not as good as like these other characters up here. Like if we're putting Blue Hawks in S tier, these two definitely can't be S tier. Blue Hawks is insane, okay? So the next character, we're gonna skip down past B tier here. We're not gonna touch B tier yet. And we're going to go to Green Toga. Green Toga, basically what she does is she increases the speed by 25% when she has evasion. So her plus ultra gives her evasion, which was okay, but now with a new UR Ochako that gives evasion, who's actually a really good healer, like we had this Ochako who is a decent healer, but she's not as good as the new one. But now with the new one, who I would argue is one of the best supports in the game, I'm actually going to be moving green Toga up a notch to B tier because of that evasion. And then additionally, with her new ability board buffs, because all the ability boards now do DXs to your action skill 1 and your action skill 2, she has gone from a low chance to bleed up to a medium chance to bleed, which will just give you even more damage, hopefully, in PvP, which makes her slightly better than she used to be. So basically now, because of the new support unit, I'm moving this character up, and also because of her extra chance to bleed, which makes her a little bit better than she used to be. So I could definitely see her being B tier. I don't think she deserves to be any lower than B tier currently in the game. The next character I want to talk about is her counterpart, Blue Toga, who has been sitting in D tier for a while. She has not been great simply because she just has a wonky, weird, really obscure kit that doesn't fit in to PvP, because she is basically a plus ultra spammer. She likes to build up her plus ultra quickly. She can do like 2 or 3 plus ultras within the span of 4 turns. However, if you know anything about PvP, you kind of like that unanimity, I don't know how to say it, basically where you're getting all your action skills on 1 turn and then all your plus ultras on 1 turn, and she just kind of messes that up and makes it hard to, and that makes it hard to use her in PvP. So that's why she's been sitting in D tier for so long. But now, with the addition of the extra ability boards up to ability board 13, she is getting even more crits. She is getting a high chance to bleed. So she's going from a medium chance to bleed to a high chance to bleed with her action skill. And then she's also getting plus ultra skill impact and increased plus ultra skill impact. So her plus ultra is going to hit even harder than it used to. Now, that's not going to be an insane number. It's not going to be anything super insane that her plus ultra hits for. It's not going to be fantasy Bakugo levels. It's not going to be fantasy Deku levels, but it is going to make her more viable in PvP. Just the fact that she has a harder hitting plus ultra and more crit. So we're going to move her up to C tier. She goes from 20% crit to 30% crit. Like, that's insane. That's really good. And then having extra damage from her plus ultra is good. However, her base stats obviously aren't as high as some of these characters up here. So she's just not going to hit as hard as them, which is why she goes only up 1 tier and not 2 tiers. So she is going to stay below her green counterpart there. The next character I want to talk about is Red Deku. Man, this guy, I never really thought that these Dekus would get a buff, and some of them haven't. Like green Deku, yellow Deku still kind of worthless, but Red Deku got a pretty sizable buff with the addition of the newest ability boards. So he is gaining an extra 10% speed and power boost on his second action skill. So before, his second action skill increased his speed by 45% and his power by 45%. Now he's getting a sizable jump from 45% to 55%. So now he's going to increase his own speed by 55%, which is really good if you know anything about PvP. And he increases his power by 55%, which is really good for damage. However, the problem with him, and the reason he only goes up 1 tier, is he hurts himself, number 1. Number 2 is that his base stats are really low. So even though he's getting that huge increase, because his base stats are not that great, it's kind of holding him back. If his base stats were a little bit better, he might even be B tier or A tier. But because he hurts himself and because his base stats are too low, he doesn't quite go up that much. The last character I want to talk about out of these characters who are already placed in the tier list that I'm going to shift around is going to be another Deku, surprisingly. I'm going to be moving around the World Heroes Missions Deku, okay? So that's this guy right here. Basically, he is being moved up for the same reason that the Red Deku is being moved up. He's getting an extra 10% speed boost from his action skill. So before he was at 25% speed boost, now he's going up to 35%. And then in addition to that, he's going from a 20% plus ultra gauge raise to a 25% plus ultra gauge raise. So he's just moving up to B tier, which is the middle of the chart. And I feel like that's appropriate because this Deku is just very mid. He's not bad in the fact that he hurts himself, so he's not as bad as the Red Deku, but he's just not as like good as the Blue Deku up here, or especially not as good as the Fantasy Deku, who has the persistence and last stand and all that going on for him. So like, he's just very mid. He's okay. That extra speed boost helps him out. That's why I moved him up. And the fact that he's more self-sufficient with his plus ultra also helped him move up a little bit. But overall, just a very mid character. And that is all the characters I'm going to be moving around. Like Blue Hiroshima here, you could make an argument that you want him in double S tier now because of his extra action skills, because now with his DXing, his first action skill gives 3 barriers and his counter gives 3 barriers. So now this guy's getting 6 barriers instead of 4, which is really good. But you also got to keep in mind the other new characters that are being added. Blue All Might, cough, cough. And this guy just ignores barriers. So like that's why we're keeping Hiroshima in S tier. And I can make an argument for all these other characters too. Like the blue Todoroki World Heroes missions, the red Todoroki, we're keeping them in S tier simply because we have the fantasy Todoroki, who is insane, and he's obviously going to be higher than them. So you just got to take into account everything. But if you guys have any arguments, questions, things like that, let me know in the comments. I can give you my reasoning for why I'm placing characters, why I'm leaving them where I'm leaving them. And if you make a single comment or question about Green Deku being F tier, I am literally going to delete your comment because that guy deserves F tier. He needs some serious help even after the DXing of the action skills. But anyways, okay, so that is all the characters who are currently in the tier list. Let's go over the characters who are new to the game, who have been added in since the last time I did a tier list, and let's place them into this tier list. So I got quite a bit to talk about with these characters. We're going to be doing them in order of the way they were released. So Blue All Might is going to be first. Blue All Might is actually a beast, so we're going to put him in double S tier just to start it off, okay? So let me explain why I'm putting Blue All Might in double S tier. He does the same things, like I said before, that Blue Hawks does right here. He nukes really, really hard. He can basically one-hit a unit if he is built correctly, and then on top of that, what makes him better than Hawks, the reason, realistically, he's the reason we moved Hawks down to S tier, is because Blue All Might ignores barriers. Because of the fact that he ignores barriers and has barrier pen, it just makes him absolutely insane, which is why he's going in double S tier and why Hawks had to move down to S tier, because he's just not as good as the Blue All Might, unfortunately, okay? Another character that was released around the same time, kind of like a slap in the face, and surprised most of us who have been playing the game, was Fantasy Todoroki. Like, he released right after All Might, and people had just spent their gems on All Might, and it was like, oh, why would they do this? And probably due to the login error during the anniversary and stuff, their schedule got thrown off. But Blue Fantasy Todoroki, arguably, in my opinion, the literal GOAT, God, best character, whatever you want to call him, of My Hero Ultra Impact. Literally the best character. So he gives your team barriers, he gives your team crits, he has frostbite, and he can freeze the enemy team, delaying their action skills. Like, what else is there to ask for? This guy has it all. And not only is he good in PvP, he would be a double S character for PvE as well. Like, he is just the GOAT. He is so good. I can't say enough about him. And because Fantasy Todoroki is so good, that is pretty much why these Todorokis, the blue Todoroki and the red Todoroki, end up down here in S tier. Like, red Todoroki increases team speed, that's great. Blue Todoroki does skill impact for your team and gives your team defense, that's great as well. Still not as good as giving your team a barrier. Still not as good as, you know, doing frostbite, as freezing. Still not as good as giving your entire team extra crit. Like, this guy is just absolutely insane. Like, he is so nuts, so good, and his base stats are really high too. So he is just arguably my favorite character kit wise in the game. So good. All right, the next character to talk about, this is actually a free to play UR that came out right around the time of the Blue Todoroki as well. And if you didn't have Blue Todoroki, you probably had quite a time trying to get this UR, because basically Fantasy Todoroki was essential, but it is the red All for One. The red All for One is going to be placed in B tier. The reason I'm placing him in B tier is he only has one attack action skill, so you're missing a little bit of damage that you might otherwise have. He's basically the inferior Yellow Aizawa. Yellow Aizawa's up here in double S tier because he's really good. He has 2 action skills, he has the skill seal, he has the ability to remove characters' buffs. Like, this guy can remove characters' buffs, but he only has 1 action skill, and he's just very like subpar in every other way. He does have a ability to help your team out, but it's only villains on a team, so he can increase the skill impact of all villains, which is great. However, there's just not really a meta villain team in the game right now, so you can't make full use of his auto skill that increases the skill impact of all villains, so that makes him B tier. I could see him going up potentially to A tier in the future if we end up with a meta villain team, but right now he's just not good for team synergy. He doesn't help the team out really, besides giving villains skill impact increase, and so for those reasons that he only has one action skill, doesn't help the team, I am placing him in B tier. The next character that came out after All For One, after Climax Battle was done, was the Purple Endeavor. So if you saw my previous videos, you would know how I feel about this Endeavor. I absolutely ragged on him, trashed him, didn't like him at first when he came out. He's grown on me since then. He has found his uses in VE Tower, and I've grown to love him a little bit. He's found his way into my heart. But as far as PvP goes, I'm still gonna have to put him in B tier. The reason is he can't make great use of his kit after turn 3. So his kit basically relies on him having composure. And so for the first 3 turns from the start of battle, he has composure, which is going to give you that 6-turn burn if you land your burn with your action skill, which is only a medium chance, by the way, which kind of sucks. It'd be better if it was a high chance. Like Dobby has a better chance to burn than Endeavor. Explain that one to me. And he only burns 1 opponent, not 3 like Dobby. So it's just like Dobby's better. Dobby is simply still better for PvP purposes and burning and stuff like that. But basically his composure, you have to have it for the extra buffs to his kit, the buffs to his plus ultra, the buffs to his action skills. And so his plus ultra gives him composure for 2 turns, but by the time your action skills come back, because it takes 2 more turns, your composure is worn off and you're not getting that buff of composure anymore after turn 3. So basically Endeavor is only good for 3 turns and then he's useless after that, which is why he goes in B tier. He's not going to go up in A tier unless we find a way to give him composure, which would be like putting a composure memory on him. But then if you put a composure memory on him, then that takes away from a speed memory that you would normally have. So yeah, it's kind of hard for him to make it above B tier with the way his kit is set up and the way he is right now. That's probably where he's going to remain, if not going down in the future. I might be a little bit biased. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I think B tier is a fair place. He is middle of the chart. He is middle of the chart material, at least. Okay, the next character I want to talk about is Yukata time Deku. This one might surprise you guys a little bit, but in my opinion, all of this is my opinion once again, feel free to disagree in the comments, let me know what you think, but I think Yukata time Deku is going to go in A tier, and I have tested all these units I'm talking about. Basically, I'm putting him in A tier because he has a piercing shot. Piercing shot ignores barriers, which is really good. He boosts all of your allies' power, which is really good. And he also can make your characters or your allies ecstatic. Okay, the downside to him and why he's not higher, because all that stuff sounds great, right? Is that you have to wait until turn 3, basically, for him to gain that piercing shot. Because he doesn't become ecstatic until turn 3, because his auto skill doesn't kick in until turn 3, which is a problem. So basically, in order to get that piercing shot on his action skill, to get it on your first plus ultra with Yukata Deku, you would need to run an ecstatic memory on him, which once again would take away from the speed memory. But from turn 3 onwards, Yukata time Deku is a very good, solid character, okay? That's why I'm placing him in A tier and I'm placing Endeavor in B tier. Endeavor is only good for 3 turns. Yukata time Deku is good from turn 3 onwards for the rest of the battle. Okay, so if you put him in a sub slot, he could be a decent character. You probably don't want to run him in a main slot. So he is actually okay, he's decent. All right, the next character is Twice. Twice came out and everybody was so excited for it. I'm still excited for it. This is literally the best defensive villain unit in the game because he is the only defensive villain unit in the game that is a UR character, at least. Okay, so because of that, he is going to go in at least A tier. He's not quite S tier yet, and I have my reasons for that. Okay, so the reason he is not S tier is because he doesn't have barrier. I think barrier is just infinitely better than reducing damage personally, and of course Hiroshima now has 6 barriers, which just makes him OP. And he is also not great for team synergy with the current units that are meta in the game. Like I've said before, we just don't have a meta villain team. That's where Twice is going to thrive, with a villain team that's really, really good. So unfortunately, until we get that villain team that we're looking for, he's just not going to be the greatest unit in the game. However, he does have the ability to heal himself basically back up to full, and so he's like, you're getting 2 characters for the price of 1 basically, which makes him an insane tank and really, really good. And then if you happen to have like a speed damage reduction memory that you could put on him, he could be decent. I feel like the fact that you almost need to put a defensive memory on him though, that will take away from a speed memory, keeps him from really shining, which is why he's staying in A tier. Okay. And then the last character we have to talk about, this character just recently came out. I did a level 100 showcase on them recently, and I was really liking them. I really love this character's kit. Like, she is so good. I would argue she is second only to Najire. She might even be as good as Najire, and that is Ocean Sun or Araka. Ocean Sun or Araka, if I'm saying she's as good as Najire, that means of course she is going to be going into double S tier. Yes, it is about time we had another support unit go into the double S tier. So let me explain why I'm putting her there. First off, she has good passive healing. Second off, she increases your team's max HP so they can survive bigger hits. So increasing your max HP means you're gonna have more HP to take hits from, like Fantasy Bakugo, Fantasy Todoroki, or Fantasy Deku. You're gonna be able to survive their hits now because you have more HP. You're not gonna get one shot as easily. You could still potentially get one shot, but not as easily. So that's amazing. She also increases your entire team's speed by 25%. And skill impact by 30%. That is not excluding herself, which is amazing, but that only happens when she's nullifying status ailments. Well, never fear, her second action skill nullifies status ailments. So starting from turn 2, you should potentially be able to have a speed boost and a skill impact boost if she hasn't nullified a status ailment. The problem with the current meta though is that obviously everybody's running this Fantasy Todoroki, and you will probably get attacked by his attack all, and you're gonna have to nullify like a freeze or something like that. So you might not get that speed boost. However, there is a UR memory, and I talked about this in the showcase for her, so go back and watch that if you want to know what that memory is. But there is a UR memory that nullifies status ailments, and if you equip that memory, basically turn 1, you are getting a 25% speed boost for your team and a 30% skill impact boost, which makes her on par, if not better than Najire. And just to top it all off, we haven't even covered everything. She gives your team evasion, and she also raises her own plus ultra gauge when she has evasion. So that makes her even better. Now, the only qualm or problem I have with her kit is that she only raises her own plus ultra gauge. I wish she raised the plus ultra of your entire team or of all allies, but that's okay because you're still surprisingly, even with her not raising allies plus ultra, able to get 3 plus ultras on turn 3. And if you want to see that, once again, go see the showcase. But overall, very happy with that Ocean Sun or Araka. She is so good. Definitely double S tier. Giving Najire a run for her money. I've been waiting. I originally thought it was going to be Yayurozu, the red cheerleader one that was going to give Najire a run for her money. It was not to be, but this one definitely, she is giving Najire a run for her money. I am so happy to have a really good support in the game. Finally, I have been waiting for this. Anyways, guys, that is my tier list. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you agree, disagree, everyone's entitled to their opinions, of course. And if you guys enjoyed the video, like I said before, please go down there, hit that subscribe button with the notification bell turned on. Leave me some likes, guys, and thank you for watching. Peace.